Hello and welcome. This is Shiree with Rehash Fiber, and I've got a fantastic blanket here to help you use up your stash. That is what I needed to do, and so I designed the Journey blanket. Here's the quick story behind it. This is my studio. I was looking around at my yarn. Okay, so you see I've got some yarn back there. That's just a fraction of it. I've got 2 underdressers here full, and then a closet full of yarn back here. And you know those days when you're looking at your stuff and you're like, because I feel that way. I love it, and I do want to use it. I don't want to just look at it. I want to use it. So what I did is I had that moment of like, this is the do or die moment. I've got to use this yarn. I just scooped up everything that I really wanted to work with, and I looked it over. So check it out. A lot of it was colors that went great together. So I laid all the yarn out on the table, said this is the yarn I'm using, threw it all in a bin, and off I went. Now I knew the project to use it up was going to have to be big and use a lot of yarn. So I knew it was going to be a blanket. I wanted a throw size blanket because I wanted something that I was truly going to use. I could move about the house with it, or take it outside, take it in the car if I wanted to go somewhere with it. And so I did a throw size blanket. Now another thing, there are some blankets I like that they're holey, the crochet holes of beautiful designs, and there's some I want to just be a warm blanket. That is how I felt about this one. I wanted it to be a blanket, giving warmth and coziness. So here we go. And here's how it got its name, the Journey blanket. And it is for a couple of reasons. One is the journey through my stash. You all know it. It's purchased yarn from fun events, remnants of things you've made for yourself or others. It is roving that I have enjoyed spinning and then was just sitting. And I'm like, all of it. I really cherish all of it. And there's a lot of memories to each of the yarns. So that is the journey, because as you're picking up the next color, there's the memories there of like, this is the yarn I used to make my daughter's cat's sweater. There's something for me, something I made for my mom, something where I was in another country and purchased that yarn. And so that is the journey through the blanket. So to get the nice solid blanket feel, this is the woven stitch. It is a rather simple stitch. It's a single crochet, and then what you do is you chain and you work into the space below. So it is a slow growing project, but it gives you this nice blanket feel. Now the second part of the journey is that I found it did take a long time because I only worked at it a couple hours a night, and then sometimes I took breaks from it. And it just grew slowly, but that was okay, because the second part of the journey was that I started mine in the fall, and here you have a couple inches, but as the weather got cooler, I now had more of a blanket laying on my lap until it was really cold outside, and now I'm covered by the blanket I'm working on. And that was a journey through the winter. So for this, the main weight of yarn is DK weight. Grab all your DKs, but then if you have fingering, you can hold those double. Now also, you can use a worsted weight. It is a little bigger and thicker in the pattern. However, if you only do one row of it, it balances out with the rest. So that's what I did. I usually did 2 rows of a color and then switched colors, and only 1 row with the worsted. And you can't feel like it's any thicker anywhere else. It just might be a little denser, but I don't even really notice it. You can change colors as often as you want. I usually did 2 rows of a color and then switched. However, you're free to do whatever you like. My big tip to you is weave in the ends often so that you do not have this huge chore at the end. I found that I usually did it at the end of the crochet session. I would crochet for a couple hours watching something on television. My hand would be tired anyway, and then I would just get the needle out and weave in the ends. That way, every time I picked it up, it was ready to go again, and I didn't have a lot of weaving to do at any one time. That's how I made it work for me. Now this blanket has tons of flexibility. I wrote the pattern for it for a throw size blanket. You may do whatever you want. My chain on is for that throw size, and then I just crocheted until it was the length. Again, you can make it as big or as small as you want. So that's the fun of it. Also, don't worry about a gauge. Just grab your needles and go, because this has flexibility. So what if your blanket ends up a little bigger or a little smaller? You know how you crochet. So go from there. It's really fun to just pick up the project and get going, especially when we have all this stash. And what's really neat is the crochet uses it up. I loved it every time. I was like, zoom, zoom, zoom. Another ball gone. I was so happy. So great. And I used up nearly all of it. So mission accomplished. When you get it to the length that you want it, there is a simple half double crochet border. You can pick that up anywhere you want along the edge, and you just work into each space. When you get to a corner, you want to just chain 2 before you get to the corner stitch and half double crochet into that, and then chain 2 more, and then you can start double crocheting down the other side. You just need enough yarn to get through that corner. So a side story for this. The woven stitch has a very rhythmic feeling, and for me it was almost like a massage for the brain, or like when you're in a rocking chair. And I would sit there and do it for a couple hours and want to go more and longer and longer. And I ended up getting a hand injury from it. It was so much fun and so relaxing that I realized my hand was hurt. I was in yoga class doing the tabletop, and I looked down at my hands and this one was all swollen, and I was like, oh girl, you gotta back off on the crochet. So I learned to set limits for myself and also take breaks. So anyway, that's how fun doing this blanket is. All right, I'm going to take a couple minutes here just to show you the stitch in action, and you can see how fun it is for yourself. So I want to show you how fun and how rhythmic this stitch is. I've already done the foundation row and then the first row that's a setup. So now for the rest of the blanket, this is what you're going to be doing. You're going to chain 1, you're going to skip the stitch, and you're going to go into the chain space. And you're going to do a single crochet. Immediately, you're going to chain, and then you're going to go for the next space. Single crochet, chain, next space. See it right there? Single crochet, chain, next space, single crochet, chain, and that is all you do all the way across. Single crochet, chain 1 into the next space, single crochet, chain 1, and then you're going to go right back into that first chain stitch and do a single crochet, turn. You're going to chain 1, and you're going to skip the first chain, and you're going to go right into the chain space. You're going to single crochet, chain 1. Now you start to be able to see what is going on. You can see where your yarn is linked to the row below, and that in between there are spaces. These are the spaces you're going to be working into. So it becomes very apparent, very easy, and you can just get into that lovely rhythm going into the space, single crochet, chain, go into the space, single crochet, chain, into the space, single crochet, chain, all the way across, all the way up as you do your blanket. You can see how it's so fun, so rhythmic, and so addicting. All right, you've got this wonderful journey blanket. It is available on Ravelry now, and just look for Rehash Fiber Designs. Okay, if you've been wondering, what is that great shirt Shiree's wearing? It's from a show from last week, so you may have seen that show. If not, I will link it to the end of this one. But this is made with Emma's Yarn Slubby Slub, which is really cool because there's big slubs throughout it. And then Laura Dobratz has designed the pattern specifically for that yarn called the Slub Lime Tee. So again, if you're curious, you can just check that out from last week's show that I'll link. Very fun, very nice. And by the way, I bought a little cami to match the color because this does have a lot of holes in it, and it needed it for me. So, all right, everybody. Enjoy using up your stash, and I would totally love to see the pictures if you do. Happy crocheting, and thanks for watching.